Okay, and we are live. I just want to say welcome to each and every one of us here on this day. And I also want to say um, I do apologize because we are a little late. We were supposed to have the study on um, on Sabbath. And the reason why I'm showing this image um, is because this is the image I shared with those that uh, were notified about our presentation today. What do you see on the screen? What does it say right there? It says end of the world. October 22nd, 1844. Then right below that it says, Behold, the bridegroom cometh. Go ye out to meet him. Okay. And so this is what was being taught in the 1800s. It was the Great Advent Movement. William Miller and those that were his associates were teaching that because of what was being revealed to them through the prophecies in October 22nd, and this year 1844 was later discovered, was going to be the coming of Jesus Christ. And they linked it together with the parable of the 10 virgins. That's why it says, Behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. And so we're going to take a look at those verses here, not in this presentation, but as we go forward, you're going to remember though that phrase right there belongs to this movement. Okay. And Sister Jackie asked this question, where and what is the article with it? And so if you're referring to the article here presented in this post, Jackie, I posted it just as an illustration of what the newspapers were saying around that time under the Great Advent Movement of the 1840s. Okay, that's the reason why I posted it. Okay, so now let's get into the meat of the matter. Hide this. Get rid of that. And here we are. Many of you will remember where we left off, and that's where we're gonna pick up right here. Okay. In relation to Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 1 through 4, we were reading about the tables. Remember? The prophetic tables of Habakkuk chapter 2. We noticed that there was more than one. There was the 1843 chart and the 1850 chart. Okay? Right there. Now notice what was said in this letter from Ellen White, page letter 28, 1850. So this is in 1850 when the new prophetic table was made. And she actually received instruction directly from God that this table should be constructed. It should be made. It said, on our return to Brother Nichols, the Lord gave me a vision and showed me that the truth must be made plain upon tables, referring to Habakkuk chapter 2, 1 through 4, and it would cause many to decide for the truth by the third angel's message. Okay? And so that's that third message. We're still talking about the first message. But notice what she continues to say, with the two former being made plain upon tables. And so these tables contain the message of Revelation 14:1, or excuse me, Revelation 14:6 through 13. But we're still talking about Revelation 14, verse 6 and 7. Notice it says that the two messages were already made plain upon tables. That was the 1843 chart. But the 1850 chart contained all three messages. So everything that was already on that first chart, on the first table, was also going to be on the second chart. And that's the 1850 chart right here. Okay? Now notice this quotation. We read it already, but as we continue to repeat these quotation, repetition deepens the impression. There's going to be new things that we notice about these quotations as we read them over and over. It says, as early as 1842, the direction given in this prophecy, in Habakkuk chapter 2, 1 through 4, to write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it, had suggested to Charles Fitch, one of Miller's associates, the preparation of a prophetic chart to illustrate the visions of Daniel and the Revelation. The publication of this chart was regarded as a fulfillment of the command given by Habakkuk. Okay, and so this is what the Seventh-day Adventist people believed, that this was a fulfillment of that prophecy, and it was connected with that first angel of Revelation 14, 6, and 7. Okay? Now notice this quotation right here. This is James White, Alan White's husband. Okay? He was the founder of the Review. This was the Adventist magazine that was the publication of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Okay? So notice what he says about that very same thing, about the charts. It was the united testimony of the Second Advent lecturers. That's William Miller and those associates of his. And papers when standing on the, what does it say? The original faith. That's why I put the title Original Faith. Standing on the original faith. So what's the original faith? It says here that the publication of the chart was a fulfillment of Habakkuk 2, 2 and 3. If the chart was the subject of prophecy, and those who deny it leave the original faith. So anybody that denies the truth that was on the charts of Habakkuk, anyone that says, "Oh no, that's not true," it says here, those who deny it leave the original faith. They leave it. It says no. If they reject any portion of that, those prophecies on the tables, they leave the original faith. Then it follows that BC 457 was the year from which to date the 2,300 days. It was necessary that 1843 should be the first published time in that order. What year? 1843. Okay. Remember we talked about that there's 2 years? We saw the newspaper was 1844, but right here it says 1843. This was the first time or year that they had said Jesus Christ is coming in this year. Okay? And it extended all the way to the summer of 1844. But notice, it says that 1843 should be the first published time in order that the vision should what? Tarry. Does anybody know what tarry means?
Terry?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's explain what tarry means. Tarry means when we have to wait. Mm-hmm. We have to patiently wait. Okay? So there was a time when they had to wait. And to wait, okay? And we're gonna get into this. This is also found in the book of Habakkuk. The book of Habakkuk talks about a time of waiting, and it was called the tarrying time. Or that there should be a tarrying time in which the virgin band, it's talking about the virgin band, the parable of the 10 virgins. Okay, he called them the virgin band, was to slumber and sleep. Do you guys remember that in the parable of the 10 virgins? There was a time when they all fell asleep. Okay, that's what it's talking about right there. So there was a time when they all fell asleep, and then it says the virgin band was to slumber and sleep on the great subject of time. So what was the whole subject? It had to do with time prophecies. Just before they were to be aroused by the midnight cry. And so remember we read on that newspaper, it says, behold, the bridegroom cometh. Go ye out to meet him. That's the midnight cry. Okay? That was the midnight cry that caused everybody to wake up. Because Jesus, they understood, they believed, was about to come. Okay? Now notice this. We just read, did we look at the date? 1850. Right here. This was written in 1850. All right? During the time when the second chart was either published or being published. Now let's take a look at this. 1905. Who's this man? This man is the historian of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. J.N. Loughborough, or John Norton Loughborough. Okay? And in his book, he wrote this. The name of the book was Great Second Advent Movement. It's Rise and Progress. Okay? Page 108. Notice what he said. Write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. Remember, we talked about that time was the main subject. Okay? But at the end, it shall speak. It's going to speak. Right? And then it says, and not lie. Okay? So the tables, the charts, they do not lie. No lie. Though it tarry, though you have to wait, you're going to have to wait a while. You're going to have to be patient. Okay? It says, you have to wait. Wait for it, because it will surely come. it will not tarry. Okay? Now notice the next words he's quoting from the same verses that we started this study. He said, "And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven, the earth, and the sea, and the fountains of waters." Now, he's connecting Habakkuk chapter 2, 1 through 4, and Revelation chapter 14, 6 and 7 together. Okay? So Habakkuk talked about time prophecy, right? Does Revelation 14, 6 and 7 have to do with time prophecy? Yes. Where does it say? It says, "Fear God and give him glory, for the hour." Is that time? An hour is time, right? Yeah. "For the hour of his judgment is come." So the time prophecy in connection with judgment is come. This is why the angel says, "And worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of water." Okay? It's pointing to the worship of the true God. Okay? Now notice, those who gave the Advent proclamation claimed that this vision, with its appointed time mentioned by the prophet Habakkuk, included the visions of the prophecies of Daniel and the Revelation. These they made so plain in their delineations of them upon their prophetic charts that he who read the interpretation could indeed run and impart the information to others. In other words, the information on the charts were so plain and easy to understand that anybody that read them and studied them went to their neighbors, went to their friends, went to their family, and shared it because they all had a chart. Okay? That's what it means in Habakkuk, that it would be so plain that anybody that read them, it said they ran to impart the information to others. Okay? And this is why the whole United States at that time believed that Jesus was coming. Okay? Because of the prophecies. Any questions? No? Okay, let's go forward. No new message. All the messages given, and notice the time, January 30, 1906. This is way later. We're talking about from 1840 all the way down to 1906. All the messages given from 1840 and 1844 are to be made forcible now. Question: how much is all?
How much?
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Pues todo.
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 Every message that was being given in the 1840 to 1844, these messages are to be made forcible now. Forcible means that these should be heard and accepted. These messages that were given by William Miller and his associates, all of the messages from 1840 to 1844 are to be made forcible now, for there are many, this is the reason why, for there are many who have lost their bearings.
Have lost
Their bearings. Do you know what it means to lose your bearings? No? Okay. So, have you ever gone, like, whenever we go to a trip, and then you're on your phone or whatever, or you're doing something else, and then you look up and you're like, where are we? Has that happened to you?
Oh, yeah.
Once? Yeah. That's losing your bearings because you don't know if you're going. You don't know if you're going north. You don't know if you're going west. You don't know if you're going south. You don't know where you're going. So that's lose your bearings. Okay? And this is why she said all the messages given from 1840 to 1844 are to be made forcible now because there are many in the church, many people who have lost their bearings. They lost the information about those messages. They don't know where they are in the prophecies. They don't know how to explain them. And so she says, go back and study those things. Blessed are the eyes which saw the things that were seen in 1843 and 1844. Who were those that saw it? Those that were alive. William Miller, Ellen White, James White, um, Joseph Bates, all of those people that were involved in that movement, the Great Advent movement. It says here, blessed are the eyes which saw the things that were seen in 1843 and 1844. So again, it's an experience that they tell us about. We have to understand that experience, and we have to, in a certain way, go through the same thing by studying this, by understanding what the message was. The message was given, and there should be no delay. What does it mean, no delay? No delay in repeating the message. So when we give the message, how are we giving it? We're just repeating. Yeah. It's not my words. They're the words of the people that were there. The people that lived it. See? William Miller, see him right there. He's like this, preaching. Okay? He had an experience that no one else can say they had. Because God gave him the knowledge, the understanding to give the prophecies to the people. Okay? To explain them in a very powerful way. It says, and there should be no delay in repeating the message, for the signs of the times are fulfilling. The closing work must be done. A great work will be done in a short time. A message will soon be given in God's appointment that will swell into a loud cry. Okay? Now that loud cry is talking about a whole different movement in a time which we are living in now. We are to see that. But in order for us to see it, we have to repeat the messages from 1840 to 1844. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. If we do not repeat exactly what we're being told to, it's not going to happen. Because that message, it needs to be given in an order. Okay? Does that make sense? Then, it says, Daniel will stand in his lot to give his testimony. Okay? And we're gonna study what that means as we continue. No new message. God bids us. This is 1907. And you remember we talked about brother Elder Ballinger. Remember we talked about that guy?
Maybe yes.
Okay. Ballinger was giving his understanding of the prophecies, and he was teaching it different. He was giving other ideas, right?
Otro concepto tenía de
He wasn't in agreement. He wasn't in agreement with the
Miller.
with the leaders,
Only the leaders.
Seventh Day Adventist leaders. James White, Joseph Bates. After 1844. Okay, this is after 1840. He wasn't in agreement.
Okay.
And so this is what God, and there's more than one, but this is already going to be like the third one we've seen where she is directing these words to him.
Oh.
And it also says, let's see. No, this is just to him. Yeah. Regarding Elder A. F. Ballinger's teachings, it says, God bids us to give our time and strength to the work of preaching to the people. What does God want us to preach? The messages that God stirred men and women in 1843 and 1844. Okay? So God was telling Ballinger, you need to go back and study those messages. You need to go back and look at the rules. You need to go back to the time when the truth was made plain upon tables, so that he can get the true understanding of prophecy. Okay? God says the same to us. There's no new message.
No new message.
Notice the truths that we received in 1841, 1842, 1843, and 1844 are now to be studied and proclaimed. And we saw that first quote, it said all, right?
Yeah.
And so everything that was being taught in 1841, 1842, 1843, and 44 are now. And when did she write this? February 20, 1905. Oh, look, and here it is, Palmer and Ballinger. She wrote this to him again. Okay? The messages of the first, second, and third angels will in the future be proclaimed with a loud voice. Remember we talked about the loud cry? She's talking about that. And we have to be able to give the messages as they were given in their order. First angel, second angel, and third angel. And then once we have these messages, the loud cry can be given. That's why it says in the future is to be proclaimed with a loud voice. They will be given with earnest determination and in the power of the Spirit. Speaking of the future, I believe that time has come to be given because many have lost their bearings. Notice, no new message. God is not giving us a new message. We are to proclaim the message that in 1843 and 1844 brought us out of the other churches. What did this message do? It said it brought us out of the other churches. Of the other churches, yeah. When did she write this? 1905. In 1905 she wrote this. Okay? And so that message that was given on the charts brought them out of the other churches. Okay? The power which stirred the people so mightily in the 1844 movement will again be revealed. The third angel's message will go forth not in whisper tones. What's whisper tones? Right? It's not going to go.
Like
No.
secret.
Yeah, no secret. It's not going to be a secret. It says, but with a loud voice. Notice the date. Testimony for the Church, Volume 5, page 252. This was 1882. Okay? Not too far after 1844. Okay, now how do we give the message? We already talked about it, right? All we have to do is repeat what was already given. And that's what we're doing right now. We're just repeating what they had already wrote. Notice early writings. This book was written in 1850. I didn't put it down there, but everybody knows, everybody should know, early writings was written in the 1850s. It says, in like manner, those who have had no experience in the first and second angel's messages must receive them from others who had an experience. So who are those that had an experience? William Miller, Joseph Bates, Charles Fitch, and J.V. Himes, so on and so forth. All of them that were in the great Advent movement. It says, we must receive from them who had an experience and followed down through the messages. As Jesus was rejected, so I saw that these messages have been rejected. Okay, who rejected Jesus? Remember the Pharisees, the Jews? They rejected Jesus, right? And so the same way that the Jews rejected Jesus, she saw that these messages were being rejected in the same way. It says, and as the disciples declared that there is salvation in no other name under heaven, let me read that again. And as the disciples declared that there is salvation in no other name under heaven given among men, so also should the servants of God faithfully and fearlessly warn those who embrace but a part of the truths connected with the third message. Okay? So the warning is that you do not only accept the third angel, but that you also accept the first and second. Okay? That's the warning. We need to warn those who embrace but only part of the truths connected with the third message, that they must gladly receive all the messages as God has given them. As who has given them? As God has given them. Or have no part in the matter. So you cannot say that you are giving the three angels messages unless you're giving it exactly the way God had given them. And the way God gave them was through our pioneers. Those that were living during that time. The Great Advent Movement pioneers can give us what are the first and second angel's message. And then the pioneers under the 1844 message, after October 22nd, 1844, they can give us the message that was given in their movement. Does that make sense? Okay. And so the big hang up that's going on right now is What is the first and second angel's message?
What?
Yeah. Is it the same as the father and son movement, or is there another message? No. She says that this message can only be given by those who gave it. And that was the Great Advent movement. And every message that was given by them needs to be repeated today. And so, because they're under the third angel, it's a different message.
It's different?
It's different in that those that lived under the pioneer under the 1844 message, they can only give the first and second angel's message through those that were there.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Sí. And so they can give us clues. Okay. They can give us the message about the 2,300 day prophecy. They can tell us a little bit about the great image, but they're not going to go into detail. Okay. They're not going to tell us every detail of the message. Does that make sense? Because that can only be given by them, by William Miller, by Charles Fitch, by J.V. Hines. Only they can give the full message. See? And we're using their writings to understand what was being taught. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Exactly. They were disciples under that movement, under that time. From 1844 and 1840, their message can only be repeated by them. We can only repeat what they say. Okay. Does that make sense? It's not gonna be. It's not gonna be. I have to study it and then I have to make my own study. That's why we're reading what they say. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. And so, Ellen White can only point us in the direction because she was there, but she didn't give the message. Oh. She heard it. She saw it. That's what she said. Blessed are the eyes that saw the things that took place in 1843 and 1844. She was a witness of what was said, of what she saw, but she did not give. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's why she has to point to them. Oh, yeah. She says, go back and study what they said. Mm-hmm. Here's the warning. The warning has come. Nothing is to be allowed. What does it mean to be allowed? Que no te permite. Que no te permite. Do not give permission. Right? Do not give permission, anything to come in that will disturb. What is disturb? I like disturbing. I like disturbing Hazel. Yeah. So what do? There you go. That's disturb. Move it. Move it. Scare. Right? Scare Hazel. So the same thing. It says here. Nothing is to come in that will disturb, move the foundation of the faith upon which we have been building ever since the message came in 1842 and 1843 and 1844. Okay? So these messages have been building. They have been building a platform. Everybody know what a platform is? Una plataforma. A ver, dale una explicación de una plataforma. Una plataforma es como
algo que ya está por decir, ¿verdad? La mesa es una plataforma.
That's a platform right there.
Puedes poner.
What happens if I take the legs off?
It fell off.
It fall off, right? Okay. So that's what she's saying. She's saying, don't take the legs off because it's gonna fall
And break.
and break. It's gonna break the top,
Break
and it's gonna break. And it's gonna break the candle, right? And it's, everything that's on top is gonna fall.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
And so that's what she's saying. The messages that were being given built the platform so we could stand on top. Okay? If that platform is broken, it falls. Okay. She says, I was in this message. I was there. She's saying, I was there when this message was given. And ever since I have been standing before the world, true to the light that God has given me or given us, we do not propose. Okay, propose. We do not propose. That word means that we're not thinking about changing our mind. When you propose something, it's because your mind is decided. Remember that Daniel purposed in his heart not to eat of the meat of the king. Remember, he purposed, right? So he had his mind made up. And so right here it says, we do not propose to take our feet off the platform on which they were placed, as day by day we sought the Lord with earnest prayer, seeking for light. Do you think that I could give up the light that God has given me? She says, it is to be as the rock of ages. And who is the rock of ages? Jesus Christ. See, it's in capital, rock of ages. That's Jesus Christ. It is as the rock of ages. So that means that Christ is that platform. He's that platform where we stand, right?
Yeah.
If you build a house on a rock, what happens when the wind comes? Nothing. Because it has a solid, firm foundation that nothing can move it. Okay? But if I break off the rock, if I chip away and move the foundation, right? What happens? It could fall. It could crack, right? Okay. So notice it says, we do not propose to take our feet off the platform which they were placed, as day by day we sought the Lord with earnest prayer, seeking light. Do you think that I could give up the light that God has given me? It is to be as the rock of ages. It has been guiding me. She's saying this is her personal experience. It has been guiding me ever since it was given in 1842, 1843, and 1844. Notice when she wrote it, 1903. So this is well over about 50 years after. She's saying that light with the messages of 1842 and 1843 and 1844, that truth has been guiding me ever since it was given. Okay? So that means she never rejected these messages. That means she always believed in those messages. And anytime she wanted to repeat the messages, she pointed them like she's pointing us to go to those messages. See? That's why she says it came in 1842, 1843, and 1844. If I want to know what the message is, I have to go to the books of 1842, 1843, and 1844. Is that clear? Okay. Let's take a look real quick.
most.
We're gonna pause right here. Okay,
Okay.
I'm gonna pause right here because we have some very powerful quotes that we're gonna take a look at. Um, and so we invite everyone that's joining us now to our next presentation. I'll make sure to tag you. Um, if you are interested, yeah, go ahead and let me know by posting, um, tag me on this post. That way I can remember to tag you. Thank you for joining us. May God bless you as we continue to study the first angel of Revelation 14.